Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Laju Iren. Ha! If you've not subscribed to my channel before, today is the day you subscribe because you see this video. The fact that I'm even sharing this video for free is proof that you need to subscribe because it's gonna be such an impactful time. Today I'm talking about drum roll, please. Din 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 din. Of course, they've seen it already in the title. But anyway, still drum roll. Din 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 din. I'm talking about lessons learned in 10 years of marriage. So my wedding anniversary is November the 1st, 2024. We've done 10 years out of forever. Glory be to God. I'm going to be sharing some lessons learned in those 10 years. Some of these are direct lessons. Some are lessons I've learned by observation or from counseling people. It's going to be an insightful time. I had hoped to keep the lessons at 10, but then they became 13, 14, maybe even 15. So just take it as 13, 14, or 15 lessons learned in 10 years of marriage. Come along with me as we share these lessons. But before we do, let me know, are you married? How long have you been married if you're married? And if you're single, also let me know. Awaiting results, awaiting admission, awaiting forever with my beloved. If you're single, there's nothing wrong with being single. Enjoy your life and God will lead you to choose right. I think I should even start from there. If you're single and you're watching this, let me change my first marriage lesson for you. Number one, please choose right. Marriage is a lifelong journey, and you cannot just marry someone because you feel sorry for them, because you are tired of waiting, because you are concerned about what people will say, because they look good on paper and Instagram photos. Because all these lessons I'm sharing now, whoever you are, I believe that you'll be able to apply any of these lessons, but they are more effective when you've chosen the right person in the first place. So if you're single and you're watching this, this one is not in my notes, but I feel the need to tell you, please choose right. Choose with God, choose with your eyes open, choose with counsel, choose with wisdom, choose with common sense. Don't choose out of desperation, because this is a partner for life. Okay, so now my number one lesson before will be my number two lesson. So here goes. One marriage lesson I've learned, which I want to share with you now, is God is the builder of homes. I want to show you a scripture that has been my meditation for a while now, first shared with me by a mentor of mine. Psalm 16 verse 5. It says, Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my Lord secure. Hey, God is the one that secures your lot. God is the one that builds the home. The Bible says that except the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. And except the Lord watches over a city, the watchman watches in vain. It doesn't mean the watchman will not watch. It does not mean that the laborer will not labor. It doesn't mean that you will not need to work on your marriage. But when it all comes down to it, God is the one that builds homes. God is the one that builds homes. God is the one that secures your lot. And so your marriage will only work when you begin to see it as a partnership with God. Marriage will not work by the seeing of your eyes and the hearing of your ears. In other words, this person did this, so I'm going to do this. Or this person said this, so this is how I respond. No. There is a plan. And God is the architect and the mastermind of that plan. And so you will do better in that marriage when you align with God's will. I'll never forget another mentor of mine saying something a while back. She was talking about how she really wanted to do something as regards one of her daughters. It was the school the daughter was going to go. And her husband wanted something else. And so they were at an impasse. They couldn't agree. It was just... And God told her something. He said, do you know what? Neither of you are right. But if you align to my order, I will make sure that the right thing is being done. And what was God's order that he was referring to? It was his order of her submitting to her husband. And at the end of the day, everything worked out together for good. I know that people have advised you about marriage. You've seen videos on Instagram. You've read Dear Joro. You've read things on Twitter. You've seen your parents' marriage. You've seen your siblings' marriage, your aunties, your uncles, your friends. But when it all comes down to it, marriage was God's idea. And if your marriage will work and fulfill the plan of God, if you will truly be happy and fulfilled and build a marriage that is solid and glorifies God, you cannot do it alone. You need God. You know how when you ask elderly people, so please advise me on marriage, and they'll tell you, pray, oh, pray, oh. And you'll be like, these people are so unrealistic. Tell us the important thing. Tell us tell us the emotional intelligence, the things that will make prayer. This is something you are doing in partnership with God. And so even when things are easy, pray. When things are difficult, pray. When it looks like there's no hope, pray. When it looks like hope is plenty, still pray. Because God can order your steps and cause you to walk in his plan and in his will for your marriage. And not only cause your partner to work in his plan and his will for your marriage. Many of you maybe have been trying for a long time to change your partner, to get this person to see things from your point of view. But have you gotten to the point where you are praying for them and saying, God, beyond what I want, can this person see what you want? Even if what you want is different from what I want. So what's the will of God in this marriage? How do I make sure that God is at the center of my home? And this is beyond arguing with your spouse, that we need to put God at the center. We are not praying. It is you taking that first deliberate and intentional step to put God at the center. So when your wife is in the mood and you're not even sure what to say, the right words to say, instead of saying that angry word, you hold her hands and you pray. Doing it God's way will give you better results than you seek. So build with God. That's the first lesson. God is the builder. And there is a confidence with which you rest in your marriage, knowing that God is the one that secures your lot. Such a confidence, knowing that God is the one who secures your lot. And regardless of what comes or what happens, he can lead and guide you and guide your spouse. So very, 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 very important lesson. So my second lesson, of course, is closely related to the first, which is that you will win in marriage when you realize what the will of God is. Scriptures say that we should not walk as unwise, but as wise, understanding what the will of God is. You know, the way a lot of people define wisdom is you have to read a situation and know how to respond. The way people define wisdom is you have to pick from experience and know how to respond. But if you pick from experience, Bible tells us that love keeps no record of wrongs. So if you are only moving by experience, what's going to happen is when your spouse behaves in a particular way, what you remember was how they did the same thing 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago when you were dating, and just yesterday. And by keeping record of wrongs, you are hoping that when you communicate those wrongs with them, they can be able to see a pattern. But the problem is that 2 wrongs don't make a right. So in keeping records of wrongs, instead of doing it God's way, you eventually compound the situation. So I want us to wake up every day and ask ourselves, what is God's will for this marriage? See, I know you have your dreams, you have your expectations, but let me tell you something. Your partner can meet your expectations and you'll still be unhappy. Your partner can meet your expectations and you'll still be unhappy. Because sometimes the things that you need are not always the things you think you need. I'm not even kidding you. Have you ever been in a relationship, not a marriage now, where this person ticks all the boxes, but for some reason, some weird reason, you just don't like them? I don't know if you've been in a situation like that. So it means that we don't always know what we ought to desire. Of course, you have a fair idea of what you want in a spouse, and that's good. Negotiables, non-negotiables. But we must get to a point where we're asking God, what's your will for this marriage? And it is in his will that you find more happiness, more fulfillment, more joy than you ever thought was possible. Because sometimes the things that you think will make you happy might not make you happy. Maybe you're young, you think if you had a spouse that didn't correct you when you were wrong, or that didn't point out your flaws once in a while, you'll be so happy. They shouldn't tell you when you do anything wrong. They should just move on. But the problem is, and I'm not saying that you should constantly attack your spouse and always tell them what they are doing wrong. You're not their God. But the problem is, even when you don't admit it, you need somebody in your life that will once in a while tell you the truth. And so if you think that your happiness or fulfillment in marriage will be when your spouse only does what you want, you might be surprised. Because there are times in your life where you have done what you want and eventually you still were not happy. So the goal is, what is God's will? When it seems like your wife is not deserving of your love, what is God's will? When it seems like your husband is not deserving of your respect and your submission, what is God's will? When you are justified to say or do some things, but you refuse to say or do them, you are beginning to ask yourself, what is God's will in this situation? And that, my friends, is true wisdom for marriage. The Bible says that by wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. What is wisdom? Knowing God's will and doing it. Another thing I'm learning is that God can turn whatever the devil meant was for evil for good if you give him the opportunity. You see, almost every married couple that has been married for long has had seasons in their marriage where it was either we get better or we call it quits. And I'm not saying I've been there, but it's a question I've been asking a lot of married people. And I remember asking someone, and she said the most difficult time in my marriage was at 15 years. She's a pastor's wife. And she said it was at 15 years. At that point, I said, we are going to call this thing quits today. I've listened to people say the most difficult time was at 20 years, but that's 5 years. And many times, what was the most difficult time in their marriage turned out to be an opportunity for them to make it better. So perhaps you are in a situation now in your marriage where it looks like a lot of things have happened, we're not understanding each other, these challenges have calmed down. And remember that God can turn it around for good. But he can only turn it around for good if you give him the opportunity, if you let him. If Joseph, apart from seeking revenge on your brothers, or in this case on your spouse, you are able to submit your pain to the Lord and say, God, what do you even want to do with this situation? God can turn it around for good. He can turn it around for good. As I'm here, there are so many stories of people who said, I remember watching Priscilla Shara's interview with her husband, and I think she was talking about, was it their 20th year? Also, the year where she did, what's the name of this movie? The year where she did War Room. And she was talking about how that was one of the most difficult years in their marriage, and it seemed like everything was going to go haywire. But it was an opportunity. The same way examinations are an opportunity for you to move on to the next class. That's how challenges in marriage are an opportunity. So, in seasons where things seem difficult, don't just act out in your feelings. Don't just make mistakes that you regret. Don't just say things that you regret. Go to the Lord. Seek wise counsel. What's God saying about this matter? Get that counseling in. Seek to see things from a different perspective. And trust me, the results will be beautiful. Whatever it is that the devil meant for evil, God can turn around for good. But you must stop seeing your marriage through the lens of the hurt and see it through the lens of purpose. And closely related to my last point will be this. See challenges in marriage as opportunities for growth. I remember passing a home somewhere around my estates, and the home looked so beautiful. It was such a beautiful home. And as I looked at it, I remembered that a few years ago I had passed through the same place. And I remember looking at the home. It had just been through a fire incident. Everything had burned down. And people would pass that home and they would be so... I remember, I didn't even know the owners, but I remember feeling so bad for them. I pitied them. I was wondering how would they get it all back. But now, 2 years later, I'm passing that same place and I'm in awe of the goodness of God in the life of a stranger. And as I passed, the Lord told me something. He said, sometimes when I let a house burn down, it's because I want to rebuild. Have you ever been in a situation where decorators come to your house and they want to make things even more beautiful? What's the first thing they do? They move everything out. They scatter everything first. And I'm not saying you should scatter your home to rebuild it. But I'm saying that when things look difficult, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to build again. That difficult conversation is an opportunity to understand each other. That hurtful situation is an opportunity to heal together. That pain that both of you might be going through is an opportunity for you to bond together. That financial challenge might be an opportunity for oneness. I hope you are hearing me. I'm going to say it again. That financial challenge might be an opportunity for oneness. That season of joblessness maybe in the life of one spouse might be an opportunity for you to spend more time with your family. So we must learn to look at things not just through our physical eyes or emotional eyes. And I know emotions can be all over the place, I get. But really look at it from a perspective of this is an opportunity. If you are used to acting a particular way in difficult circumstances, when those circumstances arise again, remember, I'm giving myself the opportunity to do better now. I don't know if you've ever been in situations where maybe in your marriage or in your relationship, you did something and you wish you had another chance. Like during an argument, you said something and you wish you had another chance to take it back. Let me tell you something. The next argument is your chance to collect yourself and say, I won't make the same mistakes I made before. See challenges, conflicts as opportunities to do things differently. Because some of us have been doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And someone said that's insanity. So if you said, if I could turn back the hands of time, you can't turn back the hands of time, but what's the next best thing you can do? You can decide that I'm going to do things differently when next the opportunity presents itself. And it will. Because marriage, it's like, I think I mentioned this already. It's like when you're about to go into a new class, you are giving exams. If you keep failing those tests, you will keep redoing them. You'll keep redoing them over and over and over and over again. So a lot of the work of marriage, and I think it's another lesson I want to share, a lot of the work of marriage is internal. A lot of the work of marriage is internal. And I'm going to talk about that going forward. But remember to see challenges and conflicts as opportunities. See, we are in this for the long haul. And I picture I always say I'm a newlywed, like these people getting married today. Because when you are planning to do something for 60 years and you've done 10 years, you are just starting. It might look like it's long, but you're just starting. Because we want to do this for life. We want to do this for the long haul. So when you have a mindset that there are still opportunities to do better, you will take advantage of every opportunity that comes. So my next marriage lesson will be that with new horizons come new challenges. Let me see. Maybe you got married to somebody who didn't have a lot of money when both of you first got married. I think that was largely the case for us, where you get married and everything has to be budgeted. Everybody knows what's going on in everybody's finances. It's one purse. And so even if you disagree about over money in situations like that, it's more or less, you shouldn't have spent this without telling me, or we need to be able to cut down. The conversations are different. As you move on in marriage and by God's grace your financial situation changes, with those changes in financial situations come new challenges. Maybe when you got married, you were both doing business together, but it was a small business. Now that the business is bigger, new challenges. Most likely when you got married, there were no children involved. Now you have one child, 2 children, 3 children, more challenges. So with these new horizons and big wins come even greater challenges. And the fact that you've been able to handle the challenges in year 2 or 3 does not yet mean that you are equipped to handle the challenges in year 8 or year 7 or year 5. What that means is that we must always be willing to, one, see the best in your partner even as things change. It also means that you need to use wisdom to be able to understand the situation that you are in, but that at the core, your core values in that marriage must be the same. So with new horizons come new challenges. And the fact that you have new challenges does not mean that your marriage is not working. Maybe you're in year 3 now, and there's some things you never argued about in year 1, and now you're finding yourself arguing about them. It doesn't mean that year 1 and 2 have gone to waste. It just means that you are in a new class now. In GS3, you are not doing chemistry, but now in SS1, you are doing chemistry. It's a good thing. New challenges are a good thing. And when you see it, like I said earlier, as an opportunity, you are better able to face it head on. But when you see it as the end, you are more likely to give up. So see challenges as an opportunity for growth. And remember, conflict is what you make of it though. Conflict is what you make of it. So the next thing I will say is Not everyone should have the privilege of your vulnerability. Say that again. Not everyone should have the privilege of your vulnerability. Say that for the third time. Not everyone should have the privilege of your vulnerability. I'll give you an example. Maybe you're in a house where you live with people and it's a small house. And because it's a small house, everybody's in everybody's business. In you and your spouse's business, they know everything that is going on. There's a tendency to just say, well, they know married couples argue, and then to be arguing in their presence, maybe in the presence of your in-laws or in the presence of your siblings. Not a good idea. What did I say? Not a good idea. When you have issues in your marriage, don't call your ex. Don't call your ex. That's not the time to talk to that friend you know does not like your husband. So you want to make sure that even when you love people boundlessly, there are boundaries to those. There are boundaries to those. And it's something that I think is so important. It's not everybody you should tell, so this is what my wife did, so this is what my husband did. It's not everybody that should be privy to conversations and information like that. You want to make sure that, and listen, don't now say, I said it's no third party. That means I won't talk to anybody. Some of you, as you are talking to me, as you are watching me now, you need counseling. But don't take it from the wrong people. Take it from the right people. Let there be people that you and your spouse has. I think I talk about this in things I wish I did in my first year of marriage, where I said I think it's important for every couple to have an older couple that they can be accountable to. So you want to make sure that you are accountable to people that you can trust, and that you're not simply using accountability as an opportunity to gain emotional support from the wrong parties. All right, so be very, very, very intentional about who you are vulnerable with. I think that is so important. When I want to get counsel for marriage, for example, from my friends, I might not tell them, so my husband said this and then I said this. I trust my friends 120%. But I ask general questions. What will you do in a situation where, do you understand what I'm trying to say? So we have to be able to, I think it was a mentor who said this, about being able to get specific answers by asking general questions. Specific answers by asking general questions. But I think it's also important that in your life, there are one or two people that you can respect and trust that can handle your vulnerability. But not everybody should be privy to your vulnerability. If your wife has an issue, it should not be your mom. You're going to tell mommy. So I've been married 10 years. I don't think my husband has ever reported me to his mother before. Do you understand? He has never, actually. Because when all these things, because you guys are married, you are one, you're going to forgive one another. But when you have carried the issue to go and meet your parents, especially when it's not a life or death issue, if they are beating you, please tell your parents, and I would advise you to run. But if it's not a life or death issue and you carry it to your parents, even after you forgive your spouse, they'll still be looking at your spouse in one kind of eye like this, right? And then not everybody should know the weaknesses or the challenges in your marriage. Even when you're sharing, when you're teaching, sometimes when I want to do lessons learned in 5 or 6 years of marriage, I think the ones I've done before. And after writing the article, I'll show my husband. I'll be like, so what do you think? Because my goal is to help you, not to tell you everything that is going on in my life. Right? So I think that is very, 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 very important. So some people do marriage with everyone. Everybody knows. Some of you, it's not even who you tell. It is the fact that once there is a challenge, you have gone to Twitter. I'll never forget one annoying guy. If you're watching this, I think what you did was very annoying, but I forgive you. And I hope your wife has forgiven you. He just went on Facebook. He has a wife with 2 children. And he was like, there's way my wife is behaving I don't like. She does not know how to behave. She's not clean. She's not. I was like, Jesus, this is bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh, mother of your children. And some of you, that's how you just go online. Or you might not even say it in detail, but you just go and type, they trust Adam, no trust Adam. Meanwhile, you're somebody's wife. Or you're somebody's husband, you write, that was how Eve ate the fruit and gave it to her husband. Don't trust women, fear women. I am someone's husband. We must be careful to ensure that our responses to situations don't make the situation worse. And this is not a direct example, but it's closely related. If you counsel a couple, for example, where the husband beats the wife or the wife slaps the husband, do you know that as a counselor, whatever led to it is no longer your problem? You are now focused on, why did you beat? Why did you raise your hand? And so what happens is, when we don't respond well to challenges, we make the issue about our response. And rightly so. But the problem is, after all that, the initial issue is still remaining. So if there's an issue with your spouse and you take it to social media, it's no longer about the issue anymore. It's now about social media. But then the major issue that you would have dealt with is still under the carpet. So the wisdom to handle those challenges is very, very important. And being very, very particular about who you share your vulnerabilities with, also very, very, very important. My next point will be this: that a house not maintained will soon come crashing down. Some of you don't know how to use broom, but you can sweep things under the carpet. The problem with, and I'm going to talk about not always having an issue to talk about every time. But let me handle this part first. The problem with sweeping things under the carpet is, one day everything will be exposed. Just imagine you're putting it under the carpet, bone, pillowcase, pillow, slippers. What happens is, the carpet now becomes a mountain, and after a while, it is so lofty that is difficult to deal with. So learning to deal with issues, I will not say deal with issues as they come, but I will say deal with issues within the time they come. Because for some of us, we're on one extreme where there is always something to argue about every day. And some of us are on the other extreme where we never talk about anything, but there is a lot hurting you. You are sweeping under the carpet. The way you will implode, you won't like it though. The things you can do when you finally decide that you have had enough, you won't like it. If you see a house where nobody is sweeping it, even if nobody is living there, if nobody is sweeping it, nobody's handling the maintenance, go and come back in the next 3 years. Things don't remain the same when they're not worked on. And that's for that person in that marriage who is like, do you know what? I'm just going to just go through the motions. What will be. I don't even have energy to be doing love or to be. I just want. Let me just stay and go through the motions. Get up and work on your marriage. If you don't get up and work on that marriage, things will get worse. You will see things that you never thought you'd see, and you might say things that you never thought you'd say, and you might do things that you never thought you would do. And even if you don't, it might come from your partner, it might come from your spouse. So if a marriage is working, people are intentionally working it. It's not about your spouse. It's not that you married the wrong person. It's not that. Even if you marry the person of your dreams, which I'm praying and I'm hoping to God that you do, both of you still need to wake up and work on the marriage. Because if you don't wake up and work on the marriage, it will turn to marriage of your nightmares. So that's very, 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 very important, to maintain that house, to keep the fire of the romance burning, to keep going for counseling even when there's no issue, to keep reading those books, to keep investing in this person and praying for them, and to find a healthy way to resolve conflict, face challenges, and just keep love alive in your marriage. So this one, I think, is one of the most important lessons, and I learned it in this 10th year. So wait, is it my 9th year or my 10th year? As I'm clocking 10, am I entering my 10th year or my 9th year? Hey, math geniuses, let me know in the comments. But this particular lesson, I learned it this year, and it's really changed my life. I mean, one of the happiest places in my marriage that I've ever been in my life, and I think it was one of the things that contributed to that. So I'm very grateful. In fact, my husband will say the same. Not dull, but like, yeah, of course, beautiful. But God's grace, we've had a glorious home for the past 10 years. Of course, there have been challenges, but this particular season is very sweet, and I think it's one of the things that contributed to it. So what's that lesson? My team said I should tell you in part 2 that this video is getting too long. So my next video will be part 2, where I share even more lessons that I've learned in my 10th year of marriage. So subscribe, watch this one over and over again, and watch out for part 2. Peace out. If you like, just subscribe. When part 2 comes out, you will miss it. You will miss it because I don't know why you've not subscribed. Don't forget to like this video. Let me know what you think this new lesson will be in the comment section. It would be nice to read through before I post. It would be nice to read through before I post, and I'll see which of you gets that lesson, right? So, God bless you. Happy anniversary to me, my darling husband. If you're watching this, happy anniversary. I'm very honored to be your wife. I love you. I love your leadership over our home, and I'm more excited than the teenager that fell in love with you even now. So happy anniversary to us, and God will see us through. See you at 70, at our 70th anniversary in Jesus' name. All right, see you in part 2.
The title of my rendition is 12 Days of Christmas.
No. I think you mean 8 days.
I am pretty sure it's 12 days.
8 days of Christmas, or should I come and sing it myself?
8 days of Christmas it is. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me and
a 3-in-1 virtual cinema.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
Janfo and the Rose,
and a 3-in-1 and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
Mistakenly Yours,
Lampo and a Rose, and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema. On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
Loving Amanda,
Lampo and a Rose, Mistakenly Yours, and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema. On the fifth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
get your ticket soon too.
Loving Amanda, Mistakenly Yours, Lampo and a Rose, and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema. On the sixth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
ChristmasMovies2024.com.
Get your ticket soon to Loving Amanda, Mistakenly Yours, Lampo and a Rose, and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema. On the seventh day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
I think I need some help here.
ChristmasMovies2024.com. Get your ticket soon. Loving Amanda, Mistakenly Yours, Lampo and a Rose, and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema. On the eighth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
It's our first ever Christmas virtual cinema. See 3 movies for the price of 1 and watch from anywhere in the world. Get tickets from October 28th at
ChristmasMovies2024.com. Get your ticket soon to Loving Amanda, Mistakenly Yours, Lampo and a Rose, and a 3-in-1 virtual cinema.
Watch 3 of our best movies this season. Get tickets from October 28th at ChristmasMovies2024.com.